Members of the jury, this case is about a lot of things. It's about a toxic relationship between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. It's about the many lies of Amber Heard. But there is something that I want you to focus on when you go into your deliberations. And that is Amber Heard, an actress, was more concerned with being an activist than an actress. And that is the reason why we are here today. Because in her bid to be an activist, she defamed, libeled, and slandered Johnny Depp. Now let's take a close look at the title of the article, which is the main subject of this lawsuit. The title says, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. That article, a plain reading of it, and a plain reading of it in the title, accuses Johnny Depp, my client, who you heard testify over the course of several days, as a sexually violent individual. Now, we heard a lot of testimony in this case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and I'm not going to stand here and insult your intelligence. This was a toxic relationship, and it went both ways. It appeared to be toxic on the part of Mr. Depp, who sometimes when he was under the influence of drugs and alcohol may have done or said the wrong thing. But the same is also true of Amber Heard. We heard her video, the recorded statement of her talking about hitting Johnny Depp and how she didn't punch him, she hit him. It was obviously a violent relationship that went both ways. And it even appears from the evidence that we can't sit here and say that there was not a toxic relationship here or that there was not mutual abuse. But what we can say from all the evidence that we heard today is that Mr. Depp was not and never was sexually violent towards Amber Heard. All of her testimony talked about certain times when maybe she had a bruise or there were arguments back and forth with Mr. Depp or he grabbed her, and even her sister came up and said that he whacked her in the face multiple times. But there was only one claim by Mrs. Heard of him being sexually violent. And that was some incident when the two of them were intoxicated that involved a bottle. You cannot believe that statement. There are multiple reasons not to believe Mrs. Heard, right? She talked about how she had donated money, and she went on TV and said she donated the $7 million to charity. Turned out to be not true. She changed her story here today in front of the jury. There are other lies as well. She said that she didn't tip off the press when she went to get the restraining order. The facts plainly showed that she did so, again, in a bid to be an activist instead of an actress. There were multiple times where her story on cross-examination by Ms. Vasquez changed and vacillated back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It truly is extremely difficult to believe anything that she said. But that story about the bottle, Ms. Heard never told that story until she was here today in front of you, And why did she come up with that story? Likely, it's possible that she was coached or that she talked with her attorneys and came up with that story in order to defeat the argument that I am going to make. Just like all the other lies she fabricated to cover her butt. Okay, and the argument I'm making to you is as follows. This article paints Johnny Depp as a domestic abuser, as a physical abuser, and as somebody who was sexually violent. I'm saying to you, members of the jury, I don't even believe that that it is true, okay, that it is fully true, but there was a lot of cross testimony here that there may have been domestic abuse both ways. There may have been physical abuse both ways, but there was no sexual violence. And the fact that Ms. Heard in this article painted Mr. Depp as sexually violent, that alone, that statement only, forces you, the jury, to find in favor of Mr. Depp for defamation. Because Mr. Depp has met all the elements of defamation. The only defense that Ms. Heard has is that that statement is the truth. But there was only one story, one piece of testimony that Mr. Depp was sexually violent. And it was the first time we heard it here today in front of this jury. And the way Ms. Heard put it, she didn't resist. She didn't attempt to stop him. By all accounts, members of the jury, that incident was consensual. There are no other instances of sexual violence in this case. So even if you accept there was mutual abuse, even if you accept there was mutual physical violence, you must find in favor of Mr. Depp, because he is not, never was, and no testimony in this trial showed that he was sexually violent. And that lie, that single lie amongst many, leaves you with no choice under the law of the state of Virginia except to find in favor of Johnny Depp. Thank you.